My name is Melissa Ciardulli, and I completed the Star Wars, like my certificate, I completed the Star Wars coding hour. So basically this is the assignment for Humanities 4141 at York University. So there was 3 questions that we had to answer, and first was, how was the experience with coding? So I can't lie, at first I felt a little really weird because I've never done anything like that before in my life. So it was definitely out of my comfort zone and was very new to me, but it was interesting because there was a lot more to coding than I really thought there would be. And I even showed my mom while I was doing it, and she was like, I don't even know what this is. I've never seen anything like it before, which just goes to show you how unaware people are of the process of coding. Similarly to what was discussed in the Canadian Press article that we had to read, basically that there's not enough people that know about coding and have any knowledge about it. The coding definitely got easier as time went on. In Puzzle 2, this was the one I wanted to, I printed like a screenshot of it. That was when I started to become more open to the coding and what I was doing, and I wanted to learn more because I was a little frustrated and annoyed in the beginning. Then the puzzles remained relatively the same for a little while, so I started to get used to it, and just when I started to get used to it, they started adding new functions. So by Puzzle 8 was when we learned about events. So when the concept of events came up, the concept of events was described as it tells the program to listen or wait for something to happen and then performs an action. I found this really interesting because I had never heard of it prior to coding before this. So Puzzle 8 and 9 were a little more frustrating to me when I started to have to use the events because I did not fully understand it at first, so I kept clicking buttons and nothing was working. But then once I got the hang of it, it was fun. And then I started using my mouse to click on the arrows to move the BB-8 around. And when I finally realized I could move the character around with the little arrows on the keyboard, I got a little embarrassed, I can't lie, because I didn't realize that you could do that from the beginning because it was easier. So by the end, when I got to design my own game, it became really fun actually because I got to add my own personality to the game, just like the kids in the video itself, where they chose their own game. Some wanted the only option to be winning, whereas some wanted you to be able to lose because they liked the thrill of playing and the potential ability to lose. So it was neat that you could add your own personality and thought. So I thought it was very innovative in that sense, and allows people's minds to start to become more creative. Overall, though, it was a really cool experience. So question 2 was, why is coding now considered to be important in children's lives? Based on my newfound knowledge regarding why coding is now considered to be important in children's lives stems from a quote from the Canadian Press article that we had to read that said, "Every job we're going to do in the future will rely on technology and be benefited if you are powerful users of the technology that surrounds us." It was said by Trudeau. The article also notes that nearly all of youth in Canada are tech consumers, but they are not given enough opportunities to actually build the technology that they use. This is very true because me, at 22 years old, I have never seen or experienced coding before in my life, not in school, outside of school, or anything until now. The article also notes that in a March report that was released, it projected that Canada's economy will create at least 218,000 tech jobs between now and 2020, which is unreal because it's already hard to find jobs nowadays, so this is a great field to get into, obviously. So I think it is a great idea to begin to educate children and youth about computer science and its importance, not just simply for tech opportunities and stable employment, but also to benefit our technologically driven lives and gear our economy and world towards a better future, because this is the type of things that can do it. Because the Canadian Press article did not explain or unpack exactly why it is important for children to learn, I decided to conduct a little bit of my own research. What I found online when I researched it was an article from The Guardian website that revolved around the future of computing. The article began with the author discussing how he was one of the generations inspired by the first wave of home computers. He said, "I taught myself to program on ZX81, then BBC Micro. Those early computers were glacially slow, had almost no storage, and you had to write code to get them to do even the simplest task." He also noted that somewhere in the mid-1990s we lost our way. The education system largely ignored the explosive growth of computing and the internet, instead focusing on teaching students how to write Word documents. Instead of a nation of builders and entrepreneurs, we were content for our children to become also rands on the technology stage. This is the exact same time that I was born. I was born in 1994. In elementary school and high school, the entire focus was on typing skills, learning the basics of Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Publisher, things like that. So now I'm completely fluent in those programs, but my knowledge doesn't go any further than that. So why is it vital that we teach our children to code? Based on the article from the Canadian Press, my own opinion and some basic research, it is clear that we are already living in a world dominated by software. Our telephone calls go over software-controlled networks. Our televisions is delivered over the internet. People don't buy maps anymore at all. They use the web. We shop online. The next generation's world will be even more online and digital. Soon our houses will be controlled by software. Some of our medical care will be delivered over the web potentially, and our cars may even drive themselves, which we already see is happening in many places. The Guardian also notes that software is the language of our world, noting that software is becoming a critical layer of all our lives. It is the language of our world. In the future, not knowing the language of computers will be as challenging as being illiterate or enumerate as today. Will every job in the future involve programming? That was one of the questions the article brought up. No, they will not, but it's still crucial that every child learns at least some sort of knowledge about coding, computer science, and along those lines. The Guardian also presented the concept of promoting computational thinking, which is how software engineers solve problems. It combines mathematics, logic, algorithms, and teaches you a new way to think about the world. After discovering what computational thinking means, I discovered that it teaches you how to tackle large problems by breaking them down into a sequence of smaller, more manageable problems, and allows you to deal with complex problems in efficient ways that operate at a huge scale. It also involves creating models of the real world and helps you go from specific solutions to general ones. I really liked learning about this term because I had never heard it before. I never had seen it before. The applications of this process stretch beyond writing software. Fields are as diverse as mechanical engineering, fluid mechanics, physics, biology, archaeology, and music are applying the computational approach. In business, we are beginning to understand that markets often follow rules that can be discerned using computational analysis. Sorry, I'm having a hard time saying that word clearly. Consequently, computational thinking and coding are skills that everyone should learn. It will help you understand and master technologies of all sorts and solve problems in almost any discipline. Even if you're not going to become a professional software engineer like myself, I couldn't see myself doing that. There are clearly many other ways that one can benefit from knowing how to solve problems this way. The final question was, what would Pariser say, from the author of The Filter Bubble, which we read, as well as Quan Haas would say about the campaign. So I think that Pariser and Quan Haas would support the concept of the campaign to get Canadian kids to code. Pariser really focuses on the filter bubble, of which he uses to describe as a filter system for the internet that we use to confine and control information that we receive. Pariser argues that consumers believe they are getting access to everything when we go on the internet, even though most of it is already predetermined. In other words, our past interests and what we're exposed to is all predetermined. So leaving less room for creativity, innovation, and learning. Consequently, I think Pariser would argue that Canadian kids should learn to code, because by not teaching them, they too will have less room to create and innovate for the future. Just like the filter bubble, the education system focuses on specific areas of knowledge and information that are believed to be the most important, while failing to acknowledge the importance of using technology to its greatest capacity. Similar to the way in which the filter bubble predetermines what we will see when Google searches something, the education system predetermines what we learn. So like I had said before about Microsoft Word and everything like that, I didn't choose to pick that to learn of all the technological aspects and programs out there. They chose that for me. So it's already predetermined. Therefore, unless the education system really begins to teach young children and youth about the importance and value of computer science, it may continue to just get lost. Quan Haas, who is the author of Technology, Society, Social Networks, Power, and Inequality, I think would also support the increase in the use of computer science in the education system for children and youth, because she focuses on how technology and society intersect together. Her text attempts to connect the reality of technology and its importance and our influence on our daily lives, and how it changes the way we communicate, work, surveil, and build networks, among many other things. She examines the tools that we use and how they change our perceptions of ourselves and the relationships we have with other people. I think Quan Haas would view computer science and coding as another form of technology that truly connects with just how much of a pervasive role technology plays in our day-to-day lives. She also focuses on the connection of technology and society, and this is precisely how coding and the increase in demand of individuals who know how to code is growing. Kwanha's also really focuses on the idea that technology is inevitable and unavoidable, and also pays attention to and urges us to think critically about the unexpected social consequences of our increasing reliance and use of technology. She also notes its importance and potential, though, if it's used in the right way. Consequently, I think she would encourage the increase of the education system implementing computer science and coding into it, because it would be done in a professional and distinct manner, so it would be used to the best of its abilities. All in all, this assignment was really cool to work on because I've never done anything like it before. I felt uncomfortable with the coding at first, because it was somewhat foreign to my knowledge, but I wish I knew more about it after trying, and I hope to learn more about it in the future. So thank you for the neat assignment, and